It began as a shortcut. The GPS rerouted me down County Road 47, a lonely strip of cracked asphalt that cut through fields the moon forgot and pines that stood like sentries refusing to breathe. The interstate was sealed by an accident, blinking cones and red flares in my rearview. County 47 promised 28 miles of quiet and a swift merge back to safety. I should have turned around when the last gas station sank behind me like a swallowed light. I should have read the silence like a warning, and at first it was only the quiet that unsettled me. No wind combing the needles, no insects gnawing at the dark, no night birds tracking invisible rivers overhead. Only the low animal hum of the engine and the patient thrum of tires counting imperfect seams. The world shrank to the tunnel of my headlights and the small red clock on the dash. 2:13 a.m. The numbers felt too certain in a night that had forgotten how to move. A marker sign rose from the ditch, reflective paint flashing a cold wink when my beams touched it. Mile 13. I filed it away the way a tired mind files anything, barely. But then the same sign slid past again, and the road grew familiar in the wrong places. A fence with 3 slats. A stump hunched like an old man at confession. The same rag of plastic snagged on the same thorn. My hands tightened on the wheel until the tendons hummed. I laughed. One dry bark meant to prove that I still existed. The laugh died as quickly as breath on glass. The clock on the dash did not blink. 2:13 a.m. The fuel needle did not tremble. The road lay ahead like a ribbon threaded through a throat that refused to swallow. Then a man stepped into my lane. He arrived in the headlights whole, denim, boots a face too pale, and vanished in the same heartbeat, like a thought I was ashamed to keep. I jerked the wheel. Tires screamed. Gravel exploded under me as the car fishtailed and slumped half into the ditch. For a long second, I waited for the sound that would mean I'd killed someone and there was no way back. It never came. I stumbled out into a silence so complete it felt mined from under the world. Hello? The word slid out and went nowhere. Asphalt, pines, my breathing, no body, no footprints, no proof of anything but fear. The car radio crackled. Not music, not a station, just a voice shouldered through static like a man forcing a door. "Back in your seat," it said, low and urgent. "Don't linger." I wanted to ask 100 questions, but I was grateful to obey anything that sounded like instruction. I slid behind the wheel. The door sealed the night outside like a jar. "Drive," the voice said, "and when you see her, don't stop." "Who?" The word was small. "You'll know." I drove. The fence returned, patient as a wound. The stump waited with the faith of monuments. Mile 13 flashed its tooth-white grin. The clock held me like a pinned moth. 2:13 a.m. The road narrowed into a throat. She was kneeling on the center line ahead, hair hanging in ropes, both palms pressed flat to the pavement as if listening to a heartbeat under stone. When my headlights poured over her, she turned her head with a slow, considerate click. Bones unfurled inside her the way umbrellas open in rain, taller than a person. Too tall to have learned it by growing. Arms that swayed a little behind the rest of her, as though catching up. She stepped to the hood and laid one hand on the metal. Cold shot through the frame, through the steering column, through me. She leaned, and where a face should have been was a mirror. Not glass, something that borrowed light and returned it wrong. I saw myself stretched and thinned, eyes I recognized only as the last things a drowning man might see in a pane of river. "Say your name," the radio told me. The voice was gravel and wind and culverts. "Now," I told the car, the road, the thing with my face. The name came raw, as if I had pulled it out of my chest. The mirror shivered. Ripples moved over her knot face like heat over blacktop. The car lurched. Her hand slid away with the sound of frost leaving a window. I drove through the place she wasn't and pretended I had not been altered. The voice returned, almost kind. "Most of them stop." "Most of who?" "Travelers. he said after a length of static that sounded thoughtful. People who mistake impatience for need. The road smells shortcuts on them. It keeps what it catches. I stared forward until my eyes watered. Words smudged themselves onto the inside of the windshield in foggy strokes that did not come from my breath. You are tired. You are bleeding. You won't make it. I clenched my jaw until my molars creaked and fixed my gaze on the center line. Don't read what it writes, the voice said. It likes to be believed. Light arrived like a rumor. A gas station swelled out of the dark, a squat building with 2 reluctant pumps and a sign whose open flickered open like a wound that wouldn't close. I slid to a stop and felt the absence of motion ring in the car like a dropped coin. The radio went quiet as if whatever lived there were holding its breath. Inside, the fluorescence buzzed like summer trapped in glass. A woman stood behind the counter with eyes the green of highway signs washed by rain. She did not smile. She looked at my hands first, the way people do when they are counting what you might have done. What mile did you come from? She asked. 13, I said, and she exhaled the way a person exhales when a shelf gives underweight. You shouldn't say the number, she murmured. That's how it remembers you. She pushed a brown bottle toward me. Drink this, don't ask what's in it. I drank. It tasted like the first breath after the power comes back on. Warmth unknotted parts of me I had not known were clenched. How do I get out? I asked. Everyone asks, she said. Some listen. She unfolded a paper map drawn in hard pencil. The road, a right that wasn't, a left that mattered. At the end, a circle with an X in it. Next to the circle, the word home written in parentheses, like an apology. When you leave, the road will divide. The brighter path is the lie. Choose the one that scares you for honest reasons. Keep your hands on the wheel. Keep your name. Back in the car, the dashboard clock twitched almost merciful, then settled again. 2:13 a.m. The station's neon letter fought and lost. The night lifted its shoulders like a cat. County 47 opened 2 mouths ahead of me, a lighter one with generous lanes and an invitation in its posture, and a darker one with trees leaning in close enough to whisper through glass. I took the dark. Not because I was brave, but because the bright felt rehearsed. The trees stitched themselves overhead until my world was a ribcage. Something ran alongside the car for a while, all footfalls and laughter at the exact edge of hearing. I did not look. The center line came and went like memory. When the hard left arrived, it did so without warning, a hinge underfoot. I turned and the car rose and settled as if agreeing to be mine again. Wind moved at last. A long, patient animal exploring the vents. The scent of real rain slid in, undeniable and ordinary enough to make my eyes sting. Say your name, the radio breathed, softer than it had ever been. I did, and the sound settled into the car like a person sitting where they belonged. Dark peeled off the edges of things. Streetlights bulbed up from the margins of the world, orange and mortal. A green sign announced the interstate in letters that stayed letters when I blinked. The clock on the dash let go of me. 2:14 a.m. I merged. Trucks shouldered past and tugged at my little car with wind. Taillights braided ahead of me like a red river that had remembered how to flow. I laughed then, a cracked, grateful sound. I bought coffee at a real station where the teenager at the counter asked if I'd heard about the wreck, and the receipt ink didn't fade while I watched it. I told myself I would never take County 47 again. I told myself shortcuts are questions asked by mouths that don't care about answers. And still, some nights, when traffic congeals and the map app does its bright arithmetic, the static begins like rain, and a voice I never met breathes close to my ear. Keep going, as if he needs me to arrive somewhere he cannot name. Sometimes on glass at night, I catch my reflection listening the way a dog listens to a far whistle, head tilted, eyes too intent, and I remember not to speak my name where the road can hear it. Sometimes the world is wide and generous. Sometimes it is a tunnel. On those nights, the trees on the median seem to lean, and every mile marker looks like a tooth, and the line down the center hums like wire drawn tight between 2 unforgiving nails. If you ever find yourself there, if the clock will not move and the signs repeat and the silence has weight, Choose the darker way for reasons you can explain to yourself with the lights on. Keep your hands where your fear can see them. Refuse the voice that sounds like yours but isn't. And if a woman with a mirror for a face lays her palm on your hood and offers you the comfort of stopping, say your name the way you would say a prayer you mean. Then drive. The road will miss you when you leave, but it will not forgive you. Do not forgive it back. If the radio cracks and a stranger tells you what you already know, believe him only long enough to survive the mile you are in, and no longer. Names matter here. So does stubbornness. So does looking straight ahead. Keep the wheel steady and do not count the signs.